I'm going to talk now with Maike and with Chris. Hi there. So sometimes there is an idea that sounds so crazy that it's a little bit unthinkable. But if you hear more about it, it makes so much sense. The Purpose Foundation had this idea, I don't know, quite some years ago when I first heard it. And it's still an idea that they really completely rethought ownership. And I think it's an idea that that really fits, well, that might be an answer to a lot of the things that we see in our time. And the next 13 minutes now are going to be just about this topic, about rethinking ownership and why founders should maybe give away their company and will be much happier or much better off with that decision. I'm very happy to talk with Maike from the Purpose Foundation now and with Chris, founder and CEO of Wild Plastic. Welcome.
Hello.
Hi.
Good to be here.
Thanks for having us.
Maike, really quick. What is the idea behind Purpose?
Wow, big question. Basically, the idea behind Purpose was that we see so many entrepreneurs in the world that are looking for ways to have their companies stay independent in the long term, have their companies being mission oriented in the long run, and basically realize the full potential of people working in the company, and that still want to scale up though, and they want to receive investments and become successful in the market, but don't want to lose their mission. And so Purpose looked around and found a lot of companies like large industrial companies like Bosch, like Zeiss, like Novo Nordisk, that had built ownership structures in their companies that ensured that the company would be purpose-driven in the long term. And what all of these companies really ensure is that they enshrine two core principles into the legal DNA, into their ownership structure. And one is the principle of self-governance, so meaning the voting rights, metaphorically speaking, we're at a pirate summit, so the steering wheel of the pirate boat, the control, is held by people who are closely connected to the company, whether it is people that are working in the company, who are the founders, just people who really understand what's going on in the company. And the second principle is the principle that profits serve purpose, which means the profits of the company and the value of the company is always there to serve the purpose in the long term. It can be used for risk-adjusted returns. It can be reinvested. It can be kept in the company. But its primary usage is to forward the company's future. And all the companies we're talking to, we are helping to build up these structures, want to make these two principles legally secure and thus ensure that the company stays mission-oriented and not primarily motivated by maximizing shareholder value, but by really solving real problems in the world in the long term.
Thanks so much. So now we have Chris, who has founded a purpose company with us. So he has founded a company that he has not the right to sell, or he cannot use as an asset and cannot get wealthy in that traditional sense. Chris, why?
Well, I think that is exactly the right question to start with, because when we founded Wild Plastic around about 3 years ago, we asked ourselves, well, why is there so much plastic in the wild? Why do we have about 80% of the world's plastic waste either abandoned in nature or lying around in cities, et cetera, et cetera? So we did start with a set of questions. And I think a lot of these questions are so big and so complex that we said, well, we have to start with one. And one is, if we were to build a company that is regenerating our ecosystems, that is focused on its mission, on its purpose in the long run, that is going to guarantee not only us, but employees, customers, partners, everyone who cares about us, that we will forever basically pursue our mission to recover the world's wide plastic, how would we do it? And that question is basically the lead-up question to everything we did, and is basically the question that we asked ourselves every day over the past 3 years.
So it's basically purpose is something that impact companies should do.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I would probably also argue every company should do in its own way, and I think some companies lose its purpose, and it probably is rather a problem than something positive, because as we heard in all the talks before, we talk about values, we talk about leadership, we talk about all these things that make people stay, that make people thrive, that make organizations thrive, and if you are to build a company today and you want to ensure that this company focuses on its mission for the next 20, 30, 40 years, how do you set it up for success? And I believe the question of ownership is often disregarded. It is something I as a founder, I don't really know a lot about because there's not a lot of narratives. Usually I think, well, it belongs to me because I founded it, and then I give some shares away to partners and investors. But overall, I am the one who is steering the destiny. And the question that Maike asked before, well, what if it's not necessarily the founders, but the people working in the company steering the destiny of the organization? And I think that is such a magical question that is hopefully also solving a lot of questions that have been asked before at the summit here.
Yeah, can you talk a little bit about how that affected the culture and the hiring? So turning into or being a purpose company, what changed, or what is the culture like, and how do people participate in shaping the company's destiny, as you say?
Yeah. So I think we do see patterns by now. We started this company as a purpose-owned company, so the company belongs to itself. We cannot sell it. We cannot make any profits from selling our stakes, and the profits are being reinvested. That immediately kind of triggered some thoughts and also value conversations that are obviously in terms of their nature, very close to the thought of purpose ownership. We tend to make holocratic. We tend to build holocratic structures. We tend to kind of give responsibility and power to the employees. We tend to really take seriously that every person in the company is supposed to be an owner of the company as well, and take ownership and make decisions according to that. So I do think we find people that love ownership, we find people that love responsibility, and we do offer them a company where they can do exactly that, take ownership and take responsibility.
Wonderful. I wanted to quickly say that the two of Maike and Chris, they will be in a deep dive right after, so in 5 minutes right after this session is over. So you can ask all the questions that you like. I think very important from this discussion also to understand this is that the company basically owns itself. I think that's a very strong statement or paradigm shift. And that just having that creates the trust that nothing can be done with a company that is against, let's say, I've been working for or with this company for so long, and all of a sudden the founder is going to sell out, and now some big corporate is going to squeeze the lemon. That's important. And the second important thing about purpose companies that I think is you need to understand that purpose companies, they can be profitable, and they can be wildly profitable. So this is not a non-profit company. So I think this is important for everybody to really understand. This is not some other structure for green or impact companies, but every company that decides I want to basically go after my purpose or mission-driven, go after this mission forever, that's a good setup. Maike, can you give 1, 2, 3 examples of other companies that have done this step and maybe some short insights into what their experience was?
Sure, I was just about to say this is the place to give examples, right? So one example that's particularly in Germany quite famous is the example of Ecosia, the search engine that plants trees, and it's the largest European search engine that's completely independent of Google, and it's really cool. And they definitely see that well, they plant trees with their profit, and for them, steward ownership, this ownership structure was really the only way to go. And another completely different.
I have to quickly interrupt because this is really the ad break for go to Ecosia, make this the default search engine. This is really important because this is your way. You surf the web, you search, you can plant or help plant trees, and that's one way that doesn't cost you any effort to help avoid climate change. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. No, perfect. And another example that's quite on a very different scale is Signal, the messaging service that many maybe now use to get rid of WhatsApp, and it's actually been funded by the WhatsApp founder, and it belongs to a nonprofit completely. And another example is also Einhorn, another German startup that is very deeply into all the new work concept and low hierarchies and so on. And for them, it was really really thinking new work to the end. For them also meant rethinking the ownership structure.
Wonderful. Yeah, I really think this is a great story. This is something you should really check out. Purpose Foundation or purposeeconomy.org, I think it is, right, Maike?
Yes.
Check it out. It's an idea that the world needs, that more people need to talk about. You don't necessarily have to turn your company into a purpose company, but you should know about it. You should know about that this exists. I think more people need to know about this because it's just wonderful, and it just brings more optionality to how to fund and grow businesses. I think this one-way street that we often hear at web conferences, we need to broaden this, and people should freely be able to choose what model fits best to them. Chris, great what you're doing. Very impressed with the mission that you have. I certainly will reach out to learn a little bit more. Also, what we with Pirate might be able to do, because climate is very much on our agenda, very high. Exactly. So the two, Maike and Chris, will be in a cabin right after this session. So in a minute, guys, thanks so much. Thanks so much for sharing your insights. Talk soon, and a great deep dive session.
Thank you very much. Talk soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.